All right. Hello, good morning, happy Wednesday. Welcome to today's Microsoft Flight Simulator live stream. We're going from Amsterdam to Leipzig in the Fokker F.VIIb. This is leg one of our 32-leg trip going to the former Dutch East Indies, now Indonesia. So we have a lot of flying ahead of us. Not all of it's going to be done today, of course, but just this first leg. So let's get in here and get started. So we can be on our way. Hopefully everybody's doing well. Thank you for the 1 thumbs up already. Appreciate that. We haven't even got started. I like that. Excuse me. Roll. Oh boy. Oh boy. This is not a parking spot that I would have expected. Okay. Oops-a-daisy. This is going to be tricky to get out of here. Oh, I should have checked this. Dang. Okay. Well, that's all right. Let's get these out of the way because we have to crack our. I'm gonna get the throttles cracked for when we do the startup. Yeah, this is gonna be a bit tricky getting out of here, I think. There's no tug. There's no way to back up. And I really don't want to have to restart everything and pick a different. I did not realize there would be a barrier. Everything started up. There we go, there's that. All right, let's talk to. Let me make sure. Yeah, okay. We're going to go to the north first. think I'm gonna get stuck here. Oh, come on. Oh, maybe it'll let me through. Oh, it's letting me through. I like it. I can live with that. There we go. Hello, Joseph. Welcome. Hello, Patrice. I'm fine, Joseph. Thank you. How are you? This is the flight we were supposed to do on Monday, and then I canceled because I wasn't... Oh, come on. Come on, steer, dog it. Oh, this thing is really... sometimes difficult. Oh, hello, Amela. Welcome. This thing is very difficult to steer sometimes, so... we will be at our departure runway here momentarily. I was hoping we'd have a closer runway for our departure, but it sends me all the way out here for some reason. I don't quite know why, but it is what it is. And this is a huge airport, that's for sure. Then we have to get our frequencies dialed in for our navigation stuff. So we'll do that before we depart, before we take off. Mr. Addies, I heard you had quite the adventure with Jason last night. You were getting a little pushy, huh? Mick was watching Jason's stream and getting a little questionable there, Joseph, with your driving tactics. Yeah. Yeah. That's why I don't like to partake in online racing, because either you get accused, your driving is questionable, or your driving is fine and then other people's driving is questionable. It's just, then it gets very frustrating, and then, yeah, no, I'll just steer clear of that. Thank you. Now, I thought I was not going to have to go... See, this is the way I went where I got... Well, no, I think we're going to turn off before we have to go up by that tower, because that's where we got stuck last time, I think. No, it's not. Oh, man. Doggone it. Now, let's go there and see what we get. Because, see, you could see that weird kind of dip in the road from back here. I'm afraid I'm going to get stuck. But I might turn off before I get to that point. Let's see. If we could cut across that grass and then, without getting stuck or anything, I'd do it that way. You can see that weird dip in the road, and that's where we got into trouble last time. I was really hoping to avoid that. I don't know if there's any way around it. There might be to the side there. It looks like it's fine on the side. Let's just scoot over here. Get closer. If it's flat, then I think we're going to be okay. I don't know. Might be. But we're going to try it. What the heck? Why not? See, that's what I was afraid of happening. Yep. No matter... Oh, maybe the plane will sort itself out. Oh, no, plane. Go back. Yeah, it's like there's a wall there. Doggone it. I was really hoping to avoid this. I don't understand it. It's like there's just... No matter which way you go, there's a wall there. Oh, this is what I knew this was going to happen. I had a feeling, and I was like, maybe they'll give me another runway to take off from. Nope. God, that is just so flippin' annoying. I don't quite understand why that is there, and why they haven't done anything about it, why they always route you that way. It makes no sense. Like, I was hoping I was going to turn before, but I guess I did have to go over that. That bridge is just all messed up. It's like there's a wall there. So let's just depart from there. God, I should have just gone to the runway. Oh, that's not what I wanted. Tell you, it's just such a pain in the butt. Oh, come on. I can't even get my... This is one of those mornings, isn't it? I can't just get... Hello, Chris. I cannot get my stuff sorted. I was really hoping it was going to send me to another runway, and I don't know why it keeps sending me over there when there's that broken bridge. And I don't know why it's like that. I really don't. All right, let's go. Anyways, all right. Try this again. From now on, if I have to fly out of Amsterdam, I'm either going to, if I'm flying with a different aircraft, then I can choose my departure runway. But maybe I should have just taxied over to the one nearest me and then taken off from there and not gone over there. Maybe that's what I need to do. So, anyways, try this again. This is what I was hoping to avoid. I didn't get an altimeter reading. Okay. Do I have... I thought I put it on live weather, but maybe it's... No, it is not on live weather. Now it is. Okay. Alright, I think we are all set. Let's go. Even that runway looks a little questionable. Oh, and I didn't tune in my VOR. Alright, now I think I can do that. Let's get our first VOR dialed in. 114. Zero. Swap frequencies. There we go. Alright, we're finally on our way. Yeah, what I was hoping to do, there's a runway that we could have taken off and been almost right on our track for, and I should have done that. Alright, we're finally on our way. I guess Mr. Addy's buggered off already. You don't want to face the questions about his questionable driving tactics. Oh, I need to dial in our heading, our course of 070. And I'm going to try to squeeze every little bit of speed out of this thing, so because it cruises at 84. We're in the yellow range, but because we don't have any of the damage on, I think we're going to be okay. Alright. So normally I would try to keep that VFR map off, but for expediency purposes this morning, we will use that. But I can minimize it once we're on track. I'm not trying to do a 5-hour flight this morning. It's going to be long enough as it is. Alright, our first leg is 29 nautical miles. We have a long leg of 118 towards the end there. It's funny, I had a bagel that I didn't finish and I put it out on the porch for birds to eat. And there's this small bird. I thought the pigeons would have come and picked it up, but there's a small bird that just keeps picking at it. Comes and takes a little bit and then takes off and then comes back. I guess the bird can't pick up the piece and fly away with it. It's probably too heavy. I need to get this thing to stop climbing. I don't want to throttle back too much because I really want to squeeze as much speed out of this thing as possible. Of course, that wouldn't be advisable on the flight, because it would be, you'd do more damage to the engine. Alright, it seems like we have a bit of wind. If I go to the chart for, I can probably tune in the weather again. No, that's alright. We're just going to keep going. We're heading in the generally correct direction, so let me go ahead and dial in our next navigation point. It's going to be 109. Uh, 00. Come on, plane. I need you to stop climbing. We don't need to go that high. What I need to do is I'm probably going to need to dial that back just a bit. That'll be sufficient. Just kind of cannot get this thing. Really have to get this thing to kind of stop climbing so we can just level off and make our way. Alright. Oh, it got quiet in the chat. Sorry, I've been trying to make sure I get this plane going the right direction and kind of get it settled down. Oh, interestingly enough, my research on this aircraft says that it had a cruising speed of about 111 knots an hour. Or 111 knots, not 111 knots an hour, but it had a cruising speed of 111 knots. And it's interesting because that is like right in, according to this, that is right in the danger zone of our airspeed. Well, if we can keep it at about 108, I think we'll get there a little bit quicker. Alright, so, what else? Tomorrow we have the debut of Military Aviation Thursday. That will be in the MB339. I did a quick flight in it the other day after we completed the service to Syracuse. So yeah, it's should be a good little flight. A little bit quick. It's going to take some time to get, we're going to get to our waypoints very quickly, but it should be very scenic. Shouldn't be too much of a problem. And then Friday we have 2 flights, Barcelona to London Gatwick for Mr. Addies, and Homer to Girdwood for Mick. We'll do that in the PC-6 for Mick's flight. And then in the London to Gatwick, we may do that in the... We may give the 737 a go, or we may just do the A320. Probably do the A320 because it's... Everything seems a little bit less complicated than the 737. So we'll do that. Saturday, Lightning Saturday, San Luis Obispo to Ontario, California. Sunday we will be in Gibraltar doing a flying tour. Got some interesting flying tours coming up in May. May 1st we'll be in Lisbon. And then we also have... we're gonna on the 15th of May. We're gonna do some scenic flying around in Norway. I found some really neat points of interest that I think will be really cool. On the 8th of May, we're going to do a flight from Reykjavik to Vestmannaeyjar. I don't know, but we're going to fly along there. Should be some nice scenery there for that flight. And let's see what else. I think I have one more. Oh, yeah, we're going to go from Bilbao in northern Spain, I believe. So we're going to take off. We're going to fly over the Guggenheim Museum. We may try to fly under the Vizcaya Bay or Vizcaya Bridge. And we're going to go over to the Palacio de Deportes de Santander, which is a amazing looking sports arena. It looks like a teardrop. It's very strange. But I found that and I was like, you know what? I think that would be an interesting. So we'll go and take off and kind of fly around, and then we'll land in Santander. I think that's the northern part of Spain. I could be wrong. I have to check my geography, but I know part of along Spain is Portugal as well. Right, our next one is on a 07. So yeah, we got some good stuff coming up. Oh, I just realized I'm talking and I'm not. I had muted myself. Oh, God. Anyway, I don't know what I was saying. So one of the things that I'm going to do, I need to do as we navigate on this, right? What we're going to do is we're going to have. I'm going to call and check weather along the way whenever possible, because we need. One of the things that we need to know is we kind of get better at our navigation without using the little mini map there, is that we need the wind speed and direction, where it's the wind's coming from. And then I plug that into, there's a website that has a virtual E6B, which is how pilots, there's a handheld one, you can use it almost looks like a calculator, and there's one with a wheel looking thing on the front, and then it has like other information on the back. We put that in, and then it'll tell us how long it would take for us to cover the distance. So like 70 nautical miles with the wind speed and everything, and our measured speed, which is 108 knots. We would tell us how long it would take for us to get there. Hello, Mick. And so that's what we want to see is an estimated amount of time it would take for us to arrive at our point. So that way we know roughly, and then we're gonna have to have a timer going so that we know, okay, in this amount of time we should be turning to the next course. But it can be very hit and miss, which is how pilots back in the day flew. They timed everything, and that's why pilots had chronographs, or the navigator had a chronograph, and they would time everything. They would say, okay, it's going to take us this long, and then once the time is done, they would either count down or count up, and then then they would say, okay, now our next course is, go this direction for this long, crazy. Okay, crazy videos. I did that on Saturday last week. I've already done that for you. Okay. You weren't here. I told you it would be Saturday, and I did it. There's quite a few people here that would vouch for that. So it's the second flight on Saturday. No, Friday. I'm sorry, not Friday. Saturday. Second flight on Friday that we did for the viewer requested flight. So the first flight is from Toulouse to Barcelona, and then you're. Oh, nice, Mick. Good deal. It does take, like, I didn't even, when I didn't know that it was an achievement, and then I was like, when I looked how many miles I had, and I was like, oh man, and I was just going back and forth on LGV Mediterranean, just doing those services back and forth, like at least 4 services, because that's like 2 hours. So yeah, good deal. So you told me that last week, so I don't expect that your mom passed away again on Sunday. So unless, or stepmom or something, but yeah, I've done the flight for you, and I'm not taking any more viewer requested flights until early June, and there's only going to be 1 flight in June for a viewer requested flight. So I can assure you, I held up my end of the deal. I'd like to get a picture here. Oh man, Mick, we had the snow and then it warmed up a bit yesterday. Not like super warm, but it already started melting some of the snow. Some of it's still here, but like the parking lot was all, it snowed, and like when I was flying yesterday, big flakes coming down, and then it finally stopped. The bad part is like there's some of the people in the area lost power. Like half of the county is without power right now. So they had, and I didn't know this until I read about it much later in the day, because I got an alert saying that the travel restrictions have been lifted. I'm like, travel restriction? What in the world are they talking about? But the weather was so bad in some areas that they did not want anybody on the road except for like emergency responders, you know, like first responders, and the power company had already staged equipment that in the event that there was power outages, they had people ready to go to start restoring power as quickly as they could. So that they had to remove a lot of downed trees. So yeah, it was nuts, but I was like, it didn't seem that bad. It wasn't like it was super windy or anything, but yeah, they said like half the county was without power. I'm like, what? It must be way out in the boonies, I guess. You know, yeah, it was really strange, but it's supposed to be about 50 degrees today, so the snow is going to continue to melt, but it was maybe a foot. But the way they made this sound, like I got these alerts and everything, like, oh, there's this storm coming, and like I expected to wake up yesterday morning and there would be like 5 feet of snow or something, because that's what it sounded like what was going to happen. Like a lot of businesses, they closed for yesterday. They didn't, you know, they just told everybody to stay home because they were expecting the worst, and then it was like maybe a foot. It wasn't that much. And then after I got done flying, the parking lot back here where I live, the snow was already getting slushy, you know. So yeah, it was very weird, but yeah, it's supposed to be a little bit warmer today than it was yesterday. So yeah, very, very strange, but I don't know. It was unexpected. I thought maybe we wouldn't get anything, because a lot of times when we get I get all these alerts on my phone from the weather app. Oh yeah, be aware. There's this is what's coming, and then a lot of times it doesn't happen. So yeah, very strange. All right, we are on our way to our second waypoint there, HOP. Now we've lost the so I tuned that in, and we're not receiving the Alright, so we're just going to follow that line. See, that's the thing with the TACAN. We got the audio reference from behind us. So now we're just, we're literally flying blind because we don't have any kind of a signal to keep homed in on. So that's the unfortunate part with some of this stuff, that we have another TACAN coming up, and then we'll have a DME, 2 DMEs, and then we'll be good to go. So that's for military aircraft to navigate with, is a TACAN. If it was a VORTAC, we would get the beeping. We would hear the Morse code for that. I need to take a picture before I forget. as I did on Sunday for sure. And that's unfortunate because we did see some really cool stuff. Ooh, some stuttering there. That's not good. That doesn't give me a warm fuzzy. Oh, now it's magenta. Okay. That was strange. Yeah, so that's why we don't hear the beeping anymore. But we'll pick those signals up once we get to... We have two more, or at least one more waypoint ahead of us that will be a TAC cannon. Then luckily we have that little VFR map. Otherwise we would be flying blind, literally. Other than we could use this for navigation, but it's kind of difficult to see that with the yoke in the way. And at least we're keeping a fairly constant speed. So that's good. So that should get us there a little bit quicker today. So it was set at about a 3.5 hour flight, but if we can keep at about 108 knots, we'll definitely get there a little bit quicker. Well, I should 108.35. Oops. That should be dialed in for... Yep, perfect. So what's the plan for tonight, Mick? You guys trucking, or are you going back on the ranting again? Or you got to have a board meeting before tonight to double check everything. I know you talked about it. All right, take care, Patrice. Trucking tonight. Okay, good. Good. Looking forward to that. Oh, ATS. Nice, nice. Take care, Patrice. Thanks for stopping by. Have a nice day at work, if such a thing is possible. It's either ATS or ETS, one of the two. Either way, it's AI mayhem. You know. Let's see who's the target tonight. Last time it seemed like everybody was a target. You know, the interesting thing about that trucking sim is that sometimes it seems like somebody gets, no major issues happen, maybe a few AI run in, but then it's like, other times it's like everybody gets plowed by the AI, like they just cause these massive accidents, and it's just like, yeah, and then you guys lose out on a lot of money for your business, and then you can't buy new trucks or upgrade your existing truck. Oh, it's ETS. Okay, that's right. The Predator is going to join you guys tonight. Yeah, it's very perplexing why the AI does that. Like, I know I would never try to challenge a semi and cause an accident. That is just stupid, But yeah, you guys are losing money hand over fist with the way the AI acts, and I don't know if that's just something they built in to that makes you play more to try to get the money back somehow. But it's like, the short trips, I think the AI doesn't really mess with you guys, but then on the long ones is when they get really stupid. Alright, so we must be getting near HOP, because that is the marker for Hopston. Or the waypoint, I mean. Navigation, the TACAN. Sorry, altimeter changed just a bit. Just a small change. But yeah, I don't quite understand why that is. Like, you guys generally drive, other than Chris when he's got the pedal to the metal and he goes down the road at 100 kilometers an hour or more than that. Yeah, I don't. I'm really interested in why they have that as a thing. Is it, you spend all these hours driving these distances, and then you lose, I guess, maybe a quarter to sometimes half of your income because of you have to do repairs along the way. Then if you go through a checkpoint and your vehicle's all jacked up, bam, you get fined, on top of the repair costs. Yeah, it just it doesn't make any sense to me why they have it like that. But I guess they figured, well, we'll give the drivers a challenge and let's see. But even when you drive, like, you keep your eyes open and you're like, okay, I'll give this person room, like you give a car room to move over, they still find a way to jack you up. Does the yoke's in the way? It must be the yoke. I don't get that. Why would this one be different? I guess I should set this one correctly if I want to. Yeah, this is going pretty well. I mean, we've maintained some really good speed, so I'm really hopeful that we get to our destination a little bit quicker than 3.5 hours. But we still got quite a bit of flying to go but we should be getting close to our second waypoint here coming up, and then we'll swap frequencies, and then we'll make a slight turn, not a huge distance or huge turn one way or the other. But we'll be almost on the same course roughly, and then we'll head for that. That one's going to be very short. That's 34 nautical miles. And then we have the doozy, 118 nautical miles. That's going to be the chunk of our time. Yeah. Yeah, sometimes it's yeah, sometimes you guys I think inadvertently crash into one another because it's like something the AI does and you react to that and then bam, you end up in running into one another, and then yeah, it just collects everybody up. So but yeah, is it? But is it the case though? Like on the shorter drives, like if you don't go very far and you make your deliveries, does it seem like the AI messes with you, and maybe it's just a long distance thing? I wonder. I don't know if there was any other switches that I could throw here that would be do anything different. So. Yeah, I think they got a little bit of work to do to sort this plane out just a bit more. I think they need to adjust the speed a bit better. Um, oh, okay, that's what I thought, Chris. Because I remember you. I think you guys have done like some little short trips, but I don't remember that there was that many like issues with the AI on the short stuff. Like, you know, they may mess with you guys, but it's not as severe. But then you're also not making as much money either. Because okay, new conflicts. Oh, okay. All right, so that should be our waypoint there, navigation point there. ETHE. So that should be the Hopston, Hop. What was it? Hopston approach. Yeah. So that should be our. So we will go ahead and tune in our next. Once we pass it, we'll hit the next navigation. We'll swap frequencies and keep going. So this one should be a fairly quick 34 nautical miles. Shouldn't take us long to get there. New conflict service, huh? Interesting. So at least we're on waypoint number 2. We've been streaming for about an hour. Well, we didn't. So here's the thing, because we tried to taxi over to our runway and then got plowed by that invisible wall that won't let us get over there. So I think we're making really good time. It's just this one after this is going to be the really difficult. That's the longest one. It's 108 nautical miles. That's going to take some time. We need to get this out the way. This is going to be a very slight change. 7. Oops. Never know why it does that. No, that. And then 1 degree that way. There we are. We are on our way. Yeah, we were talking about I was talking about that earlier, Joseph. Some of your questionable driving habits, apparently in the stream last night with Jason. You gotta calm down. I know you want to win and you want to prove yourself, but you just sit back and enjoy the race. You know, you're racing with a bunch of other people. You're not racing against the AI. Hey, you go in there driving like a maniac, then chances are you're not. Yeah, there you go. And you finished. Yes, that is true. Yeah, if you go in there driving like a maniac, sooner or later you won't get invited back in. You know, just keep your line and gotta just let other people make mistakes and then take advantage of those. Well, sometimes, but one of the things, just like in this sim, for instance, when things go wrong, is it a problem? This is the problem that I have. Is it something that I've done that caused the problem, or is it something that is a flaw in the game? You know, you have to be a big enough person to say, yep, I did some stupid stuff last night, or, you know, and I've done it. You know, yep, I made a mistake here, and here's what I did. And this is why this happened. You know, like when I was navigating and I put the wrong heading in and we're going way off. It's like, oh man, we're going to be late, you know. But we overcame it. I realized, like, when I used my instruments to tell me what was happening, I'm like, something's not right. And then it's like, oh, that's why. So, yeah, you just have to be able to admit, like, yeah, I did some silly stuff on the track last night, and I was a bit chaotic, and you shouldn't think that everything was going wrong. It's just that you're anxious to show that you can race with everybody else who's been racing together for quite some time, you know. So, but you have to also say, yeah, I did some things that were questionable that caused this, and then that's why I ended up here. Because it's, you know, interestingly enough, a lot of drivers, though, in real life, a lot of them don't like to admit that they made a mistake, because they're like, most drivers always feel that they're the ones that aren't to blame, and then when they go back and they look at it, like, yeah, I did this, and this was stupid of me. You know, some drivers will admit that. At the end, they'll go and shake the other driver's hand and say, hey, my bad, I shouldn't have done this, or I didn't mean to wreck you, or, you know, I lost control and this is what happened. At least they go and try to make amends with the other driver. But when you don't do that and you blame everybody else, and it's like, and the evidence suggests otherwise, then it's like, yeah, you're going to find it much harder to get invited back, I think. So, like Chris said, just go and practice and just keep getting better at it. And before you know it, you'll be, you know, I'm sure Glenn was the same way when he first started. You know, took time, and then he's gotten better. It just takes time. But yeah, that's why I avoid multiplayer, because then it just turns into a finger pointing and blaming and, you know, all this other silly stuff, and it just... Another slight adjustment. Oh, you don't have to pay me. Was happy to do it. You're welcome. No worries. Yeah, even yeah, that's the thing, is it just takes time and working at it and trying to figure out. And I think the other thing too is if you record or you go back and you look at your replay, for instance, and you start picking out all the little things that you can see, like, yeah, I can improve here, or I should have taken this line, or I should have done this, or maybe I should have braked a little bit later or a little bit sooner. That's the hallmark of a good driver, whether in real life or maybe even in simming, is that you have to take all that, if you can, take that information in and say, yep, this is where I can do this, I can do it better next time here. Yeah, consistency is a problem. You're absolutely right. And, I try to be consistent with my flying, but when I'm trying to get things done, or in the case of what happened first, we're taxiing and then bam, I cannot get to my takeoff runway, and then I'm forgetting about dialing in our first navigation point, and then so yeah, part of it is, one of the things that I noticed, like in Captain Arish's stream, he comes in, he greets everybody and all that, and he shows, we're going from here to here today, and which I try to do. And then, eventually he's like, okay, let me get the plane started up now. Yes, I have, yeah, I have many times, I think. Yeah, I think I have. Pretty sure. So, what was I going to say? So yeah, but he goes through the checklist. He has a printed out checklist that he goes through the whole startup stuff. He doesn't just, do the automatic checklist. He does everything by the book. And so, that's part of his routine. He checks over everything, makes sure everything is set, and then he taxis. No, it's not that. You can kind of guesstimate, or say, yep, based on if you count houses or whatever, you look for certain landmarks or any kind of visual aids. You can say, oh yeah, this is roughly where my house is. But I don't know that it's ever going to get to that point where you can actually see your house. Maybe, I don't know, but I mean, I know on Google Earth you can, if you find your address and then you can scroll in and then you can put like your visual representation or a virtual representation of yourself on the ground, and then you can look around, because all that information was captured. What Google did was they had vehicles that they had all these different camera angles. They captured all that information as they drove by. Down, they would drive down the street, and then that's what gives you that clear sort of reference in Google Maps, or Google Earth, I should say. But I don't know that would ever be a thing in the sim. But maybe one day, I don't know. I mean, I don't. Like if you were flying, like if we lived somewhere down in here, right, and we were in a Cessna 152 and we were just kind of going low and slow, maybe you could determine it. But other than that, it's like, is that really, it would be neat, but I don't, because then the other problem then will be, okay, could you fly right over my house here, and can you see my, then it just becomes another one of those demands, I guess, that, everybody wants to see if I can find their house. And it's like, I don't, yeah, it would just be very touristy, and that's not something I really want to get involved with. I enjoy the fact that, there's clearly a large area, people living here in this area. You can see it's in some places it's kind of densely populated. In other areas it's a bit you know. So that's what I enjoy. I'm not really worried about if I can see my house clearly. I know roughly when I fly over the general location, it's like, yeah, I lived here. You know, I'm not looking for an actual, yeah, yeah. I mean, Google Earth was amazing for me. Like, somebody told me about it one time. They were like, "Did you not seen Google Earth?" I'm like, "What? No, I've never." And I was amazed. Like, I got on there and found the area where I was stationed at in Germany, and all of a sudden it was like, it took me a while to find where everything was because it had all changed. And that's the other thing, because it gives you, if you're not able to go somewhere, it does give you a sense of what has changed in the way of the, you know, areas, you know, buildings get demolished and new ones get put up, or, you know, all kinds of stuff. So, why am I, it seems like I'm going wildly off track one way or the other. So yeah, that's not something I really am that interested in. I mean, if they do, it'd be great, but my fear would be then it would become a one of, you know, it would be one of those things like, hey, can you find my house in this, you know, and I really don't want to have that, to be honest. It's, you know, that to me is not really flying. It's like I'm doing a tour service for you. Maybe that would be something if I ever get to the point, and not that I need to, if I did monetize my channel or be able to get donations or something, then maybe that's something, but that's not, I don't want that to be about my channel, you know. So yeah. You know, it's just like whenever I fly into most anywhere that I've been, I can pick out landmarks and I say, oh, yep, I know exactly where I am. Like when I fly into the Bay Area, California, I can see all the landmarks and I say, this is over here, this is over there. I know exactly where I am coming into San Francisco, for instance, or Oakland, you know. And then you can kind of figure out where did they, which kind of, you know, did they come in over the South Bay and then work their way up, or did they kind of cut across, or, you know, so, yeah. But once you see certain bridges, like the Dumbarton Bridge, the San Mateo Bridge, it's like, okay, I know exactly where I am in relation to the airport where I grew up, and, you know, that kind of stuff. I'm having a heck of a time keeping this thing on track. It's like I'm zigzagging back and forth to our waypoint there. Well, at least we've kind of settled down on the altitude. We're not dropping or climbing anymore, so... But yeah, that may come a point, but I'm not really interested in something like that. I think it would just, I don't know. Alright, that looks like our, yep, there's our waypoint there, our nav aid. Yay. Alright. Wait, is that it? It says OSN, not OSB. Interesting. Alright, we'll get a little bit closer and then we'll swap frequencies and then we'll continue on. This will be the longest part of our journey, 118 nautical miles. Yikes. In fact, I think we can go ahead and just swap it now. It should be on... Oops. Do not swap. Unswap. There we go. Boy, this thing's a little bit... Alright, so this will go back to 696. This one will go back to 96. Oh wait. 11335. Did I not put that in? Maybe I didn't. Well, I guess I did not. That's why we're not hearing anything. 11335. There we go. Now we got it. I mean, Chris has a valid point. I don't think he's trying to be, you know, I mean, it's funny, but I don't think he means anything other than, yeah, if you want to see that. It's, I mean, they're using the Bing Maps. They're on the PC side. I think there's a app that you, or a mod that you can download that will give you the Google Maps instead of the Bing Maps, but it's not that's something that some people have been tinkering around with. And 11350. Okay, let me go ahead and dial that in now so I don't forget. But that's part of the you know, when stuff like that, when it becomes a thing in the sim, you know, I know, Chris. Yeah, then it's then I think that would be the next like demand from viewers, and I don't think that many simmers are in that kind of line of work, so to speak. You know, so yeah, it can be very yeah, I'm trying to get away from that because it's just it's starting to take away from the flying that I want to do. You know, so we had 118 nautical miles. I just want to see if I can't figure this out. Course is 096 108. 11 nautical miles distance. So it says it should take us about an hour and 9 minutes to get there. Or Yeah. So let's see if we are roughly... I should have started timing it, but... Ooh, boy, I'm getting off track here. So there is some kind of wind somewhere that's pushing us off. Because for a moment there, we were right on track. But it's not we're too far off. We're still kind of heading the general direction. Yeah. Joe's on worse ignored. Just got the notification you went live. The other problem too is that there's not, if on the PC side there are helicopters, which would make finding stuff a little bit easier. They're still working on trying to bring helicopters to the Xbox. I don't know if or when that's ever going to happen, because they can be a bit complex, and they're trying to figure out how, if somebody has only the standard controller, how are they going to fly you know, a helicopter? How are they going to operate it and be able to do it in a way that it's a bit of fun? The Velocity, which is like a drone kind of helicopter thing, I mean, it doesn't last for very long, you know. I don't know that we even got an hour of flying out of it. You know, the battery drained very quickly. So yeah, without that, it's, you know, in some places you could land like a Cessna 152 or something somewhere, but you know, I don't know. I don't know that it's something that I'd really want to try to do for a channel. There's a lot of other flying to do. We're going to be in the Junkers 52. We're going to be flying in South America later in May. I got to put together some stuff for the Postal Service for Spain. We're going to do flights with that in the Fokker F.VIIb. So yeah, we got lots of interesting stuff. I don't want to, you know, like the jetliner stuff I don't mind doing and all that, but there's, you know, at first I was really excited about it because it was, you know, once you kind of get to grips with it, it's very easy. You take off, you hit these buttons, and the plane handles itself. You know, but there's a whole other world of aviation. Now, if we get more jetliners that are better, and you know, then we can. I'm certainly willing to do all those, but it will still be only a once a week thing, because there's all kinds of other stuff that we're willing to do. And if the time comes eventually that they can get the more complex aircraft like the DC-6, I cannot wait to fly that in here if we ever get it. It's this big 4-engine plane. It's just, it's amazing. And I you know, I want to fly that in here. Hopefully someday I'll be able to. If not, and if I ever get a PC, that I would like to be able to fly it on the PC, because there's all that kind of, you know, early aviation, early airline service, because it was an airliner. It was just a you know, just used prop engines, big radial engines. You know, but they weren't fast. They were fast for their time, but by today's standards, they're not fast. but there was a bit of luxury to it as well. Like, you know, you were traveling and you weren't driving, and you can kind of just sit back and relax, and they served you food and something to drink and all that, and you could just enjoy the flight. You know, it was like a social event in a way. Not that, you know, of course, that was for only the very wealthy or for the business traveler, you know, because they had an expense account, and so the company would pay for them to fly somewhere. But, you know, even then it was like this really, you know, sort of, you know, luxurious sort of thing, and you know, it was a big deal if you ever got to fly. When, you know, if you weren't, you know, if you didn't have the means to buy the ticket and somebody bought it for you, it was like an experience, like it was a whole nother world for you. You know, now modern aviation has opened that up. You know, a lot of people can fly now from all over the world to other places. But it was for the very wealthy at first. You know, like the Concorde, for instance, only the most wealthy people could afford a trip on that thing. You know, the tickets weren't cheap. The average person I don't think would ever afford a ticket on the Concorde. That's why it was such a special thing. If you got to fly on that, it was like probably for some folks it would be a once in a lifetime experience. One of the things I don't know if there is I'd be curious to see if any of the pilots who flew the Concorde, if they've ever written any books about their experience as a Concorde pilot, what it was like, what sort of, you know, like if they talk about all the training they went through to fly it, and the flight engineer, all the training that they had to go through. I think that would be an interesting read. It's not major changes, but I'd at least like to keep it up to date just in case something happens. Yeah, there's a whole lot of other parts of aviation, and that's the great thing about this sim is, you know, we can experience some of it, not all of it just yet, at least not on the Xbox, but we can experience quite a bit of interesting things. And you know, like when this plane was released as when they did the world update for Australia, you know, I was like, okay, this looks interesting, but I was like, But it took me a while, and I'm like, okay, I should want to fly this, and then when I did on the Microsoft Flight Sim forum, somebody had said that they did this trip in the Junkers from Berlin down to Athens, and I was like, oh, okay, that's cool. And then I started thinking about it, like, where was all the other places like KLM flew, you know, back in the day? So, yeah, there's a whole other area of flying, and that's why I was like, when I saw the route going to what's now what's called Indonesia, but back then it was the former Dutch East Indies. Yeah, I was like, man, that'd be amazing. And then I looked at it, and I'm like, I knew immediately I'd have to break it up into smaller flights, because there's no way I could do that much flying in one day. You know, like land in Leipzig and then take off for, you know, Prague or whatever. Because I would just be too tired by the end of it. It would just wear me out. Speaking of which, I think I am going to take a short break for just a moment. I will be right back. If the plane goes a little bit off course, it's fine. I'll fix it when I get back. Be right back. All right, I'm back. Oops, why? Yeah, there's some wind somewhere. I don't know which way it's coming from, but it's like just I get pushed off the track very easily. It'd be nice if we had a tailwind instead. Alright, so this is the big chunk of our flight right here. What did I say? It was going to be roughly an hour and 9 minutes, so we still got a bit to go before we even hit the hour mark, I think. I didn't change this one, did I? Yeah, I did. Why is it showing that? 1335. Let me double check my numbers. Yeah, 11335. Okay. So that's what we're heading to now. I don't know why that's off like that. We're right on the line. Interesting. Okay, well, we're heading the right direction. That's all that matters. So yeah, tomorrow we'll be in the MB339. We will take off from an airbase in Italy and land at an airbase in Italy. Should be a nice little flight. No autopilot. The plane's going to kind of do its own thing. It's going to be a bit of trying to get the plane to settle down, and it's not always easy, but we're going to make the best of it. Should be a nice little bit of scenery along the way. I really like this, that we're keeping a constant 108 knot speed. That's really good. Because if we were going to cruise at like 80 something knots, this would take even longer, I think. But now that we've been right here pretty much the entire time once we took off and got the plane settled. So that's really good. I'm quite happy with that. Now if I look at see if I can kind of figure out where we are. I see some river stuff. I think I know where we are. I think. If I see oh, I know. Okay, I see where we're at. I know where we're at. So we are not quite halfway into our heading towards our, we're almost about maybe a quarter of the way, or maybe just past a quarter of the way to our next nav point. This is one of those weird, now it's like I'm going to be zigzagging back and forth trying to keep this thing on track. So ED, I think I know. Yeah. EDIA. Must be smaller or something. I don't see it on my sky vector chart. That's okay. I know where we're at. So yeah, we still got a bit of flying to go. Oh, nice, Mick. Glad to see you're still here. Must be a small airport or something, because I don't see it on my... It might be closed. I wonder if that's why it's not on the chart on SkyVector. I tell you, if you are in Flight Sim, SkyVector is an invaluable tool. It doesn't cost anything. You can just use the stuff for free. And it'll... Especially if you're doing VOR to VOR flying, it'll give you all, you plug your stuff in Flight Sim, and then you can put the same thing into SkyVector, and it will give you your headings and your distances between waypoints there, so you can kind of figure out which way you need to turn. And then they don't have the charts for Europe, but they in the United States, if they have the chart, you can pull that up as far as the airport information, the landing, which way the runways go, and the layout of the airport, so that you can make a visual check of which way you're coming in from, and that'll help you know where you're landing at. So yeah, it's basically like the charts that pilots would use in real life, It's just that we don't have to have the paper one. We can just go on the site and so yeah, It's very handy. EDHQ. I think I saw that. So the difference is too, like some of the stuff that's in the sim is not in what is in the real world anymore. You know, or what is available on charts. So, we were flying into some heavy clouds here, it looks like. We're going to continue on regardless of the clouds. We're just going to keep flying, make it a little bit bumpy. So yeah, we're almost halfway to our waypoint, our next waypoint, COD, COD. I wonder if I do this again, and if I swap the frequency again, does it change the, nope, it did not. That's all right. We're heading the right direction, that's all that matters. Do appreciate everybody coming in and hanging out today. Military aviation debuts tomorrow. Friday we have 2 flights, Barcelona to London Gatwick for Mr. Addies, and Homer to Girdwood for Mick. I'm looking forward to that second one most especially. No offense, Mr. Addies, but yeah, I'm really curious to see how that goes. I think it'll be some very nice scenery. We're going to make sure we have some nice weather. We're not going to wait for the weather to change. We're going to change it ourselves and have some nice, interesting scenery along the way. Now, I think in a situation like this, the pilots would basically try to go below the cloud ceiling there, so they could still maintain their visual references and all that. But we're going to just continue on because we don't really have to worry about that. EDRC. Let's see if that's what. Let's have a look there. Don't know where some of these. Where is this at? It's not very far off. I don't know why I'm not seeing it on my chart. Interesting. Alright, so I see, I'm trying to get a reference here. think I know where we are. So I think we're about halfway to our waypoint there, our navigation aid. Yeah, I think we're about halfway there now. Let's see, what other... So yeah, we got flight on Saturday, San Luis Obispo to Ontario. Sunday, Gibraltar. And Monday we will continue our flight. Next leg will be Leipzig to Prague. And then on the 26th, that's the flight that is going to be a little bit later. I have to go downtown and get my blood drawn. So it's the yearly, or every 6 months I get my blood drawn. My doctor wants to check my blood work, so I got to get that done. So that flight will... So the flight will be, as soon as I can get home and get set up, I will get that done. And yeah, then we'll be back on track. Now, just out of curiosity, this is what I'm going to do. Let's zoom in here. I'm going to dial in. Let's see, 127. That should be an airport that I can get automated weather. Let's see if I can do it. Oh, it wouldn't let me do it. Huh. Okay. Well, let's see if we have the nearest airport. Oh, no, 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 no. That's not what I wanted. Doggone it. No, 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 no. I wanted to just tune in and see if 069 at 14. Okay. That's what I was looking for. Nope, not doing it. Not doing it. 6069 at 14. All right, let's check that. So all right. I also what does that mean? Beast for Crick. Not sure what that even means, but okay. Welcome. How are you? Nice to have you here. And would you care to elaborate on the I also? That's a very vague statement there. Yes, Samilla. What did I have for dinner last night? I had some roasted chicken soup. Whenever it's cold, I think soup or chili are like my two favorite things to eat when it's like really cold out. It kind of warms me up. You know, it has vegetables, which I probably don't eat enough of, to be honest. So I get my vegetables through that. It's easy. I can just pour the can into the pan, heat it up. There we go. So, Beast for Crick. What? Well, also what? I'm still perplexed by your statement. That doesn't make any sense. I guess maybe you didn't want to elaborate your I also. Well, thank you for stopping by either way. I do try to fly 7 days a week, whenever my schedule permits. 7:30 Eastern, 11:30 or 7:30 Eastern, 12:30 UK is our start time for right now. I think it's a good, seems to be a good place to, or good start time. All right, let's see where else. So we should be getting a little bit closer to our find that bend. Okay, yep, I know exactly where we are. Well, not exactly, but we are. Yeah, we are definitely in the second half of our 118 nautical mile journey to our next waypoint there, COD. You know, one of these days, I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm just gonna pop into random stream, say something very vague, and then I'm gonna leave. But I'm gonna sit there and wait to see if somebody. It's not gonna be anybody I know, like Mick or Pulse or Joe, for instance, or Chris or Mr. Addy's even. I just want to find random people. Oh, I had a home cut. You know, that's something I need to do eventually. My hair is getting a little, what little bit I have, it's starting to get a little raggedy. So yeah, I gotta trim, give myself a haircut. It's just much more convenient. It's just that the cleanup is a pain, and then also trying to get like the back of my head, around the back of the neck and everything is just a real pain in the butt. But at least once I'm with Doris, I'm sure she can give me a quick haircut. It's very simple. It doesn't like I have to have a fade or anything like that. It's just very quick. I knew a lot of guys in the military, they'd have their wives, they got clippers, and then their wives would just give them a quick haircut. It was screaming to be taken. Yeah, yeah, mine's starting to get that. It's starting to grow a little wild, and sometimes I let it grow out probably longer than I should. Not like super long, but it becomes too much to deal with in a way. So. So yeah, I've already 11350. Yep. Oh, that's one of the things that when I was in the military, I would get that because I was just you keep the hair off your ears, and you can have a little bit on top if you have any really, but yeah, I'd always get the high and tight. Because shaving your head was supposedly against regulations back in the day. But if you're already losing your hair, it just makes sense to do it because, But yeah, it was they called it a fattish haircut if you shaved your head, and that was supposedly not allowed by regulation. Ooh, look at these puffy clouds. It's like a little blanket of clouds here. Oh, look at that. I'm glad I don't really have to worry about those sorts of things. I just get a haircut whenever I can, or I've got clippers here at home. It's like a very small handheld clippers, and I just get that all done. But it's the cleanup afterwards and all that. Then of course you got to hop in the shower and try to clean off all the little hairs and all that. There was a barber shop I used to go to near where I lived growing up that, well, I didn't go there growing up, but I went there much later in life. But it was like this cool little hangout. You go there and, shoot the breeze with the barbers and whoever else is there, or you just sit there and read a magazine and keep to yourself. And, yeah, they went out of business. They sold, matter of fact, the most recent pictures I posted when I did kind of skirt through home on my way to Savannah last year, you can see I think I talked about it a little bit. It was just very sad because it was a really neat place to kind of go and hang out, and they had to close up shop. Yeah, there's not that many traditional barber shops around anymore. And if there are, it's not cheap. Because you get the full treatment when you go get your haircut. If you want your face shaven, there's very few places that'll do that anymore. But I've heard that that's like a once, like it's something to experience yourself. Put the hot towel over your face and put the brush with the shaving cream, and they got the straight razor, which is supposedly a much closer shave. I don't know. I've never tried it. I don't know that I'd want to, because my face is just all a big old mess. So I've probably nicked myself more times than I care to count. That's the other thing about not being in the military anymore. I don't have to shave every day if I don't want to. I can get all scruffy and it's fine. I guess Beast for Crick didn't care to explain further their comment about what also they. I'm guessing I'm going to kind of take a gander or take a wild guess here, and Beast for Crick was basically saying they also play Microsoft Flight Simulator. I'm guessing, but the world may never know. So get into the center of a Tootsie Roll Pop. How many licks does it take? The world may never know. I remember those commercials from a long time ago. A one, a two. The world may never know. Did you see the versus menu? No, I did not. I haven't watched a match in ages. I can't remember the last time. Well, I do. It was. I know it was when I was in Afghanistan. We watched. I don't know if it was a World Cup or something. But of course, because most anywhere you went, either they had cricket or they had football on. Not like American football, but soccer. And you go in the barber shop, you could sit there and watch a match. Cricket always, I never quite understood it. I know it's somewhat similar to baseball, but not really. And I didn't know like they would say that this person hit the century, and I'm like, what does that mean? Like, I didn't understand the scoring or anything, but I'd watch it because it seemed interesting. Something to do while you're getting your hair cut. Oh, yeah, I haven't watched a match in ages. I've been watching that show Justified that was on FX that they're bringing back for like a limited story, miniseries sort of thing. It's a really good show, but it's got the same. If you ever watch The Shield, it's got some of the similar sort of. I feel like the similar sort of vibe to it in a way. But it's a good show. I enjoy it. But it feels a bit like a. It has some elements of The Shield. It feels like the cop who is essentially trying to do good and gets mixed up in a lot of other things because other people bring him into unnecessary drama. So yeah, it's a good show though. If you ever get a chance to watch, I highly recommend it. I thought the story, the premise of it was a bit. It took me a while to get used to it, but it's not a bad show. I enjoy it. All right, so it should be getting a little bit closer here. Yeah, it's just I heard so much about the show, and then I've got 2 free months of Hulu, so I'm like, I'll check it out. And at first I was like, but I gave it some time, and I was like, yeah, it's not half bad. It's just a bit, I don't know. I mean, I can see why it was entertaining, but it's also tried and true sort of tried and true formula. You know, like in the Marvel movies, they had a very distinct formula to them. You know, and at first it was, you know, you introduce separate characters and then you bring them all together with the Avengers movies and stuff like that. But this show was, it's a formula, and it's a formula that's worked, I think, very well for FX. But it's, when you start to see that formula, it's kind of like, I was hoping it'd be maybe a bit different formula, but it's like, I really liked NCIS, but then I started to see this pattern, this formula develop, and I'm just like, okay, this isn't as exciting as it used to be. It's kind of like worn out, you know, like somebody from Gibbs past that he did something to, and they're after him, and, you know, they spend the whole season trying to figure out why this person's after him, and, you know, it's just, after a while, you're like, is that really entertaining, or is it just, you know... So, but it works. People like it, you know. I mean, I've watched so many seasons of NCIS, and I'm just like, at first, when it first started, it was very exciting, but now I think it's kind of worn itself out. You know, there's got to come a time when they call it quits, I think. So yeah, shows like that, they have a specific formula. Or you have reboots. They take the formula and they try to go at it from a different angle. Like when I watch, if I compare the old Hawaii Five-0 to the new one, it's just Hawaii Five-0 in name only. Old versus new. That's it. And the character's name, Steve McGarrett and Dano, and, you know, Steve and Dano are the two main holdovers from the original. But the rest of it is all just, they turned it into something that it wasn't, you know. And after a while, I tried watching that. I'm just like, I can't do this anymore. It's just not that good. It was almost like a cop soap opera, you know. That's what it seemed like. They turned it into this soap opera-ish sort of nonsense, and they had these nice cut scenes with all the neat places in Hawaii. You got people surfing and the, you know, lights along the beach and all that. And they got this cool music, which, of course, you know, people start to, what song was that? And, you know, I got to go to iTunes and download the song because I really like it. You know, they're selling more than just the show. They want people to get interested in the little things within the show. And it works, you know, especially for young people. They hear it and they're just like, oh man, I like that song, and they get it, and, you know, somebody else has made even more money because they featured that song in that show. But it was nowhere near like the original, and it's like a cheap ripoff, basically. I've not seen the reboot of Magnum P.I., and I kind of venture to say it's very similar. That it's Magnum P.I. in name only. I don't think it has anything to do necessarily with the original show. Man U is trash. Yeah, there's a lot of people who felt that Man U has they're like the New England Patriots of English football. You know, they seem to always get their way. Nobody ever calls a penalty against them. It seems they always have more money to get all the players that they want at any given time. You know, they're probably one of the most hated did I lose? Huh. Yeah, I know a lot of people. I know some people who are die-hard Man U fans. And of course, you're always going to, just like I've known people who are die-hard Patriots fans. And they don't see, I'll use this analogy. Like when I was a die-hard Ferrari fan, I still love Ferrari, but during the Schumacher era, Ferrari could do no wrong. Ferrari was it. They were the only team that I ever really cared about. And you don't see you're not willing to admit when your team is doing some things that are a bit suspect, or just gives the sport a bad name or a bad look, because they're doing some shady things sometimes, or perceived to be shady or whatever. And like they basically did. They had their way with the championship from 2000 through 2004. They were on top of it, and everybody was like, especially all the people who were Ferrari fans. They were angry. They wanted to stop. They wanted to put a stop to it. But the same fans who were mad about Schumacher and Ferrari are okay with the way Hamilton and Mercedes act. That's what blows my mind. I never quite understood that. If you're going to be against things, then it applies to all teams. But of course, when it's your team, you don't think that your team is doing anything wrong. And that's when you don't want to hear criticisms of your favorite driver or the team or anything. You're like, oh, how dare you say these things about, But yeah, it's very interesting how, when it's your team does no wrong. And then afterwards, when you look at it, you go like, yeah, I could see where people felt this particular way about Ferrari, for instance, and Michael. So there was maybe some criticisms there that were valid, but there was a lot of supposition on other people's parts, and maybe there's suppositions about Hamilton and Mercedes on the part of people who don't root for either of those teams, or that team or driver. You can make all kinds of suppositions, and you find the validation because you're like, I'm sure of this, or I saw this, and it's just West Ham. Yeah, you can find the validation if you're willing to suspend some disbelief, sometimes. Like I never thought team orders were such a big, I'm like, so they exist. What's the problem? But some people don't, that's very much something they don't particularly like, especially when it's their, when it's not their team that's doing it, but if it's somebody they're rooting for, oh yeah, by all means, team orders are the order of the day. As long as my driver gets to the front and wins the championship, that's all that matters. And so yeah, a lot of people have a hard time, I think, kind of understanding that, or All right, looks like we are finally at our fourth waypoint. We're going to turn. Trying to make sure we. Yeah, it's. But yeah, when it's your team can never do any wrong. That's the thing, and you never hear any criticisms of them. People gotten in physical fights over it. How dare you talk about? Like I wouldn't want to beat anybody up if they talk trash about Ferrari. But the simple, there's plenty of where was I going to go with this? I forgot now. Oh well. Or I wouldn't. If people were critical, they're entitled to their opinions. I wouldn't want to try to fight somebody over that. That just seems a bit ludicrous. I've lost my. I don't hear my my nav stuff anymore. Alright, so what I'm going to do is we're going to swap over to our final frequency 11350, and then we're going to make our way to the airport. That's okay, maybe there was a glitch. Yeah, well, I think that's true of most any team. You have to be able to roll with the punches and accept the criticisms and because we all know, like, when our teams are not good, we're like, yeah, we already know it's rubbish. 129. It was very hard when Ferrari fell off the top step, and then there was some glory times we had a good year with Kimi Räikkönen when he won the championship, thankfully, and then it just all went downhill from there ever since then, it seems. But I think they're on their way back to the top. I think Charles hopefully he keeps the form up and finally brings a win home for Ferrari. I think most Ferrari fans have been dying for that end of season sort of celebration, and the championship goes back to Maranello. All right, so yeah, we've done pretty good. I think we've made very good time overall, I think. And now we got to start dropping some altitude. Preparation for arrival there in Leipzig. Technically, we would have to probably land at the airport behind us because this is not VFR weather in any way, shape, or form. We will get below the cloud cover and we'll be there before we know it. Yeah, but some people always look, when your team does some really dirty stuff, like I know people who were just like, nah. That whole deflate gate surrounding Tom Brady and the deflated football stuff, they're like, no, that's not possible. Why isn't it possible? Yeah, I think so too, Mick. I'd really like, if it's Charles or Carlos at this point, I don't care. I'd like to see either one of them win it, so long. I think last year, despite what people might say about the final race of last year, with what happened on the track and everything, and Max crossed the line and won the championship and everything. It went down to the end, which is what they've always wanted. It didn't go quite the way that they thought it would, But yeah, I think now that there seems to be a crack in the armor of Mercedes, possibly, but they could turn things around and go on a winning streak and end up winning the whole thing. And yeah, I would be ecstatic. Like I would probably cry like I did when Michael won his last championship for Ferrari in 2004. It was a very emotional thing, and to see him retire. Like there's a video out there on YouTube where they show him driving around. They've got this music from Evanescence, and it's very powerful, and it's a very well done. Whoever did it, they did an amazing job. But they show the when he finally pulled into the garage the final time, and he's hugging everybody. He hugs Jean Tott and everybody that helped him throughout the years there. It was a very emotional thing. But yeah, I think the Tifosi are itching for this to happen. They want it so bad. They want it so bad they can taste it, as the saying goes. And if it's 2 years in a row that Mercedes is not on the top of the sheets at the end, it will be a signal that finally there has been a shift. And that's what I think people have been waiting on, was to enact this shift and bring Mercedes back down to reality. And then will Mercedes ever recover? Some teams, whenever there's that subtle difference, that something changes the direction of everything, they can't quite get to yeah, they could, but hope. I really don't want them to. I know they probably will, but I hope for the sake of the sport they don't, because I think it's people, just like the people who were tired of Ferrari winning all the time. I think people have reached that point that Mercedes has had their way, essentially. Call it what it is, and they want somebody else to take over. They want somebody else to start winning on a regular basis. Because they want that excitement back when it's the same team over and over and over and over again, except maybe one or two races. Yeah, it's just like it's not doing anything good for the sport. Like the criticism during the Ferrari Schumacher era was they're making the sport boring. Well, you can say the same thing about Hamilton and Mercedes. At first, it was exciting because it was a new face on the podium, kind of, not sort of, but just. They were finally, when Hamilton came to Mercedes after Michael retired the second time, it was a new era. But sometimes a new era gets to be an old era, very quickly. And I think a lot of people thought that when Vettel went to Ferrari, it was going to be a good thing and he was going to win more championships, and he'd leave almost on almost equal with Schumacher, and then that didn't happen for various reasons. And it was unfortunate, because I thought, okay, this is going to be it. We're going to pick right back up where Michael left off, or where Kimi Räikkönen left off, and we're just going to dominate the sport again, and nobody is going to do anything about it. Well, I have mixed emotions about McLaren. I loved Mika Hakkinen. I thought he was a phenomenal driver. He brought a balance to Michael. They were very close, I think, in ways that most people didn't see them be. I think they were pretty good friends off track. And I missed that because they had some really good battles. But David Coulthard, he's the one reason I despise McLaren. He was such a loudmouth, and he talked a good game, but never came through. He was that guy. I think he won maybe a couple races, but he was not anybody really. And I think he got thrown in the deep end with Damon Hill after the death of Ayrton Senna, and Damon tried to carry the team on his shoulders and all that at Williams, but yeah, never cared for him as a driver. Just, absolute. Yeah, can't stand him. And that was the one thing that always, I despised Mercedes, McLaren for. Not Mercedes, but they did have Mercedes engines, but never liked them at all. But yeah, Mika, I had a lot of respect for Mika. I miss watching him drive. Him and Michael having conversations after the race, and Yeah. Those were good times, I think. Even though Michael didn't win, it was a good battle. I think they both kept each other honest. And I think that was a good thing. I miss those days. I miss Irv the Swerve, Eddie Irvine. He was quite a character. I miss Heinz Harold Frentzen. He was one of my other favorite drivers that I think he just never got a good shot. He did okay, but he just never got where he could get a decent drive in a reliable car. Yeah, he was my other favorite German driver other than Michael. Just never was able to get things going, you know. I miss Jordan Grand Prix. I miss Eddie Jordan. He was quite a character too. I miss the other team. I miss, quite honestly, that I didn't think I would be, was Arrows. You know, they had a very long history in F1, and then they folded up. They went bankrupt, and they couldn't pay their bills, and yeah, it was very unfortunate. But they had I think they had some really beautiful cars in their own right. Especially in the when they first started racing, much earlier when they got into it, they had some really neat looking cars, I think. They had that gold colored Warsteiner livery, and it looked amazing. You know. I do like the ground effects era when you had all the aerodynamics figured out how to make the car faster and grip to the track, and just, you know, of course the speeds were starting to build up, and it was starting to get a little unsafe, but it was just amazing era, I think, for Formula One, because it also translated over into IndyCar back in the day. Once the ground effects thing, you know, IndyCar teams back then were kind of like, yeah, this is cool. You know, it definitely revolutionized racing, but then also people were getting concerned about the speeds and the ability of the driver to control the car at the speeds. So yeah, and of course they did away with that. Everything had to have a flat bottom. Totally, you know, basically all those aerodynamicists had to go find other jobs somewhere else. But yeah, if it hadn't been for Colin Chapman, there's no telling if ground effects racing, or that the ability to use that as making the car go faster, especially through the turns and all that, I don't know if anybody would have ever developed it. So he did change Formula One in a very big way, and I think racing in general. But I don't think he's ever been given enough credit for that, what he did with Lotus. You know, when I saw Mario Andretti in his championship-winning Lotus, it's an amazing. You know, you see it and it's just like it doesn't seem like there's much to it, but it's an amazing bit of engineering. You know, when you compare like last time I was at Laguna Seca for the historic race, they had a 1908 Mercedes Grand Prix car, and it's this big. They got the thin wheels, and it's open, and you got a driver and the co-driver / mechanic, and you know, and then it's only 70 something years later, only within that span of time, bam, you have the ground effects Lotus that Mario won the F1 championship in. I mean, if you think about it, 70 years is almost a drop in the bucket. It took them less than a century to come up with that. You know, it's absolutely amazing, I think. All right, come on, plane. We got to drop some altitude here. You're not making this easy for me. Yeah, I always admired that about the historic races, because you see the advancement of technology in racing. I need to change my batteries real quick. Pardon me. Yeah, that was like one of my favorite things about going to historic races, just seeing all that and just all the technology and just how the cars grew over the years. You know, and you had all the Bugatti Grand Prix cars that were very beautiful and they were fast in their time. And you just see, then you jump up to the F1 cars of the late 60s and early 70s through the late 70s. Yeah, it's absolutely amazing how Grand Prix racing changed all over those years. Wow. Are we ever going to get below the cloud cover? Well, this is going to make for an interesting... Ooh, oh, we are dropping altitude way too quickly now. See, I was afraid that's what was going to happen. I want to drop altitude, but I don't want it to be... Alright, there's our waypoint there, coming up. And our airport should be almost like right there. Yep, there it is. Alright, so we got to call in and request. Can we land, please, and thank you? Oh, it's right there. Look at that. Okay. Well, we'll continue to drop some altitude then. Try to slow the plane down. I'm going to use that because I don't... it's going to be too difficult for me to try to identify the airport. It looks like this is heavy cloud cover, so I don't know that we're ever going to get... I could change the weather, but we're just going to land it like this. Although it's not, it would be much more difficult under these conditions to do it than what we're going to do here. So we're going to fly past and we're going to turn around and come back in for our pattern. We'll just keep dropping some altitude. So, yeah, I know I've been trying not to use that, but in this case I think it's warranted. Alright, let's go ahead and turn. Try to come back around a little bit as we continue to drop altitude. Till we see that those markers, the guidelines. Oh, I can see. Oh, there's a bit of a clearing in the Alright, there's our airport there. Yeah, it's very, very difficult to pick out the we would have been circling around forever, so. But yeah, we did pretty good. We're definitely under our time, I believe, so that's good for us. Alright, so getting this plane slowed. This is the problem with the lack of our no flaps, you know. Trying to get this plane slowed down now is going to be a real trick. I probably should have gone out a little bit farther now, because we got to drop altitude and we got to start looking at a way to drop our speed, because we are close to being overspeeding here. But I got to get below these. I got to get within these guides here. 14 knot winds. Ugh. Alright, we're just going to go ahead and put this in. But normally we would have gone, circled around, found our runway, and then put it on the ground. But for expediency's sake, we are going to do it this way. It's just going to be very difficult to bleed off the speed. So I got to bring the nose up, but then I don't want to climb, but I don't want to stall the engine either. That's the difficult part. I'm trying to find that balance. But we're going to do our best. I think we got a long enough runway if we have to hover over it. I'm going to go ahead and turn the laptop to the side there so I don't get distracted. This is going to be, I think this is going to be a bit of a wonky landing here. I'm just going to go ahead and preface that now. Yeah, we are coming in way... Okay, now we're slowed down enough, it looks like. Alright, I think we are online. We're lined up as best as we can be. Get over the threshold and we'll just try our best here. See how we can do it. Oh boy, it is really, it's like a rock now. It's just going right for it. Ugh. Ah! Oh, come on, really? Yeah, it just sank like a rock. Ah! Oh man. Yeah, I throttled back and it just went right in. Oh! Well, on behalf of myself and the entire flight crew, we apologize for the crash landing, but we are here. Emergency services will be out to take you. Oh, man. Oh, well. That's where I'm going to have to really practice with these landings. But yeah, it just, I throttled back and I was trying to keep the nose up and it just like, nope, it went right in. I'm going to have to figure out how to, I think what I have to do is I have to bring the prop back to about here, and then I think that will help slow us down, possibly. I don't know, but it's, yeah. I really wish I could figure out a way to get this thing to, you know, doggone it. Oh well. We made it. We got here a lot quicker than I think I thought I would, but all right, let's go ahead and stop that there because I don't want to hear that over and oh, you know what we could do is just turn everything off. Try that. Turn the battery off and see if that ends the flight there. Nope, of course not. Alternators and the avionics. Let's try shutting all that off. Nope. Nope, nope, nope. Still nothing. Oh well. What can you do? All right. Anyway, I think he's talking about F1, Mick. He's ready to race with you guys again. Anyway, that's going to be it for today, folks. So apologize. I'm gonna have to. That's a good thing why we're flying this. We're going to get better at the landings like we did with the Spitfire. We just have to kind of practice at it and get better at it. So that's fine. It's a learning experience, but we made it. Our first leg is in the books. Anyway, that's going to be it for today, folks. I greatly appreciate everybody coming in and hanging out. Thank you for the 5 thumbs up. I will see you all tomorrow, 7:30 Eastern, 12:30 UK in the MB339 going from Grosseto to Grazanis. We're going to be in Italy. Let's just put it that way. Enjoy the rest of your midweek day, Wednesday, morning, afternoon, evening, early Thursday. Maybe for some folks almost. Until then, peace, live long and prosper.